On New Year's Day, you swore blind, clutching the last of the Christmas sherry, that you would write every single day this year. You may have even set yourself a daily word count target that you swore you'd stick to no matter what. And yet your writing goals already feel like they've gone to hell in a handcart. All is not lost. Far from it. We're going to sort this out. Don't worry. I expect that the rot seemed to set in when you failed to hit your daily word count because you felt ill, or you didn't get enough sleep, or you just didn't feel inspired enough to write. And after that, the whole hell/handcart scenario went down. And I know exactly how that feels because I'm in that exact situation right now. On New Year's Day, I launched something called the January Jumpstart Creativity Collective, a community event during which creatives of all kinds would state their 30-day goals for January and then share their progress amongst each other and generally G each other along. Here's what I told my fellow members on New Year's Day. During January, we are going to get stuff done. The event itself is going brilliantly. And by the way, if you're watching this in January, then it's not too late for you to hop aboard and join this lovely community for free. Details in the video description. But over the last few days, my own progress has become derailed for a few reasons. I've been here countless times before, and so I have route maps to get us both out of here. Coming up, I'll share 3 major reasons why your writing goals may have gone to hell and how you can easily get them back on track for good. You'll learn why having set a daily word count target may have actually destroyed your progress. You'll also learn why those goals that you set on New Year's Day may have been a big mistake. I'll also share a remarkably insightful piece of wisdom that Doctor Who showrunner Stephen Moffat once bestowed upon me, which will change the way you think about procrastination forever. First though, let me explain why you should trust me to lead you out of this hell. I've written literally millions of words across fiction and non-fiction. My bibliography includes my scary horror novel, The Last Days of Jack Sparks, various official Doctor Who tie-in fiction, and Inside Black Mirror, the book that I co-wrote with Charlie Brooker and Annabelle Jones. I hope you'll find reassurance in the fact that even a pro writer like me can completely mess up their goals. So, what mistakes might you have made while creating yours on New Year's Day? Imagine that you've woken up in a vast wilderness with nothing to see for miles in any direction. One thing you'll know for sure is that you need to start walking every day in order to get out of this place. But which direction do you choose? If you don't have a compass and a map in your backpack, you'll be constantly dogged by the sense that you could be moving in the wrong direction, and you won't know how much walking you need to do on any given day to reach the nearest town. If you do have a compass and map though, and you can see the town you're heading towards, then you'll have a great chance of escaping this bewildering wilderness, or bewilderness for short. I think you see where I'm going with this. It's possible that back on New Year's Day you didn't take a moment to actually pack that map and compass in the form of a specific writing goal. If that's the case, then you'll have had nothing to measure your daily efforts by and nothing solid to aim for. Some declarations we make might sound like long-term plans, but actually they're not. While it sounds great to say, I'm going to write every single day, for instance, you may well be setting yourself up to fail, as I'll explain in a minute. Also, I will write every single day is more of a routine really than an end goal. When you state up front exactly what you'd like to achieve in 30 days though, that's much more of a solid goal and one that can help motivate you. That is your actual map and compass combo. Because every single day you can ask yourself, okay, why am I writing today again? What's going to be the point of that? Oh yes, I want to finish this short story by the end of the month. That, by the way, was my actual end goal that I declared at the start of the January Jumpstart Creativity Collective. My main goal for the month is to finish the short story that I've started to write that features Jack Sparks. Turns out though that this was actually the wrong goal. More on that a bit later. You might also very reasonably want to ask me how on earth you can be expected to set yourself a realistic end goal when you're a newer writer and you haven't got much of an idea yet as to how long everything takes. Great question, I'm glad you asked. What you can do is reverse engineer your way to figuring out what your end goal should be, based on how fast or easily you think you can handle smaller chunks of the whole thing. If you reckon you can write 1 chapter per week, for instance, then that means you can write 4 in a month. But now, if we assume that you did actually make a long-term goal, what else could have gone wrong there? Well, you may have chosen the wrong priority. In my case, I chose the priority of finishing off a short story when I really should have been reassessing and editing novels that I have in development. My subconscious mind knew that, which is probably part of the reason why I was dragging my heels a bit on that project even before a whole load of stress entered my life this week. And if that even vaguely chimes with you, you might want to pause this video and have a bit of a think. The other long-term goal mistake you might have made, by the way, is if you don't love this project enough. Does it burn in your chest? Do you really need to finish this thing? If not, then there may be a problem there too. Pick something you love more. One of my favourite YouTubers is a New York guy called Jordan Syatt. Now, he's not a writer of fiction, although he has written a book called Eat It. He's a fitness coach and nutrition expert who sets out to give his viewers the best advice on things like how to lose weight through a calorie deficit plan. If one day you fail to restrict yourself to your daily calorie target, says Jordan, then do not take that as a license to think you've completely messed it up and never go back to it.
If that's what you do when your weight fluctuates up, you're giving yourself a justification for quitting, when the reality is if you just got back on track, you would have been totally fine.
So that's really positive advice that we can 100% apply to our writing goals. But Jordan's advice does come after he's helped each viewer pick the right calorie deficit plan for them. So what if you've chosen the wrong type of daily writing goal? To stick with the example from earlier of writing 1 chapter per week, should you break that week down into daily word count targets? Well, let me tell you why I have personally stopped using daily word count targets. Major caveat: if you do currently aim for a daily word count target and it's working out great for you and you're getting things done, getting things finished, then completely ignore what I'm about to say, because I'm a firm believer in whatever works, works. For me though, I've come to believe that when we set ourselves a daily word count target, that doesn't take into account all of the other work that this job entails, but which doesn't literally involve typing words onto a screen. All the planning and plotting and note-taking, all that stuff 100% counts as daily creative work. And so it strikes me that if we judge ourselves solely by the metric of how many words we typed every day, then we do ourselves a disservice. Outsiders love to laugh at we writers when we claim that daydreaming is work, but it is. In fact, daydreaming is the job. So it's entirely possible that your writing goals seemed to go to hell because you were judging yourself each day by the wrong metric. You were actually underestimating the amount of work you were doing. So you might ask, how do I actually go about gauging my daily progress? I've come to think that the best way to do it is time, the amount of focused creative time we spend. So you might want to set a minimum period of focused time every day. If you're a working single parent who only gets a chance to work when your children are asleep, then that time might be 1 hour, whereas if your time is more your own, it could be 6. And this time period could include writing, thinking, editing, planning, plotting, whatever you feel the need to do in a focused and meaningful creative way. Now, I'm going to banish quite a common writing myth here, the idea that writers have to write every day. Furthermore, I'm going to give you an incredibly important insight that will arise time and time again on this channel. There are very few absolutes in writing. Maybe 1 or 2. That's it. And the crucial nature of writing every single day is definitely not one of them, in my opinion. This topic of absolutes in writing really deserves a video of its own, by the way, so let me know down in comments if you'd like to see that and I'll be happy to make it for you. Writers must write every single day? No. Just no. Sod all the way off with that. My own writing went clean off the rails this week because it turned out to be one of the most stressful weeks of my life. Sometimes life just happens and there's nothing we can do about that. But don't get me wrong, writing every day can be great and addictive and incredibly useful, partly because it helps to keep your head anchored in the fictional work that you're creating. But when we pledge to write every single day, that sets up unrealistic expectations for ourselves that we will struggle to meet. And in fact, I pretty much guarantee we will fail to meet them. Bearing in mind our long-term writing goals though, of course, we should try to get back on the horse as soon as we realistically and safely can. Let's not beat ourselves up unduly. Let's accept that things are going to send our writing routine completely off the rails and then just get back on them. Let me just take a quick moment for a shout out to a randomly selected Patreon supporter, Cliff Shelton. Thank you so much. So now that we've covered the first 2 points of 3, you may well be thinking to yourself, Jason, you've been useless so far because my long-term goals and my short-term goals are both on point and I actually don't push myself hard to write every single day. So why have my writing goals still gone straight to hell? My background is in journalism, and the one interview I did that taught me more about writing than pretty much any other interview I've ever done was with Stephen Moffat for Doctor Who magazine in 2008. When I asked Stephen how he stays focused with his writing, he laughed. I can't do the accent, by the way, but he said, "You're assuming I stay focused. I don't. No writer stays focused each day, every day. Jesus, it's hard sometimes. 2 or 3 hours will pass and I'll have done nothing, not even had a useful thought." And then Stephen went on to say something that I try to bear in mind every time I'm attempting to write. So listen to this. Even if I deprive myself of all distractions, Stephen said, it really isn't about that. You can go into an empty room with a desk and a computer and no internet and you still lose focus.
Sometimes you're not ready to write it, you're not comfortable with what you're doing, you have to get there.
So Stephen reminded me that sometimes we can't write because we're simply not ready to. Our brains just need more time to percolate the idea and think about how to present it and dramatize it. So maybe instead of beating yourself up for falling off the horse, you should accept that you're still trying to figure out how to ride it. Because in the case of this particular horse metaphor, each beast is completely different and requires completely different skills to ride it. But what if you do feel 100% ready to write, but you seemingly can't? Could it be that the weeds of procrastination have crawled up your ankles and swamped you, immobilizing your typing fingers for some underlying reason? And what could that reason be? Let me tell you, I know a thing or two about procrastination myself. Case in point, I'm launching an entire YouTube channel right now when I should be writing. Mind you, I have been planning to launch Write Like Hell for quite some time, a YouTube channel that will tell you all the scary truths of writing, help you navigate your own fears, and make you feel so much better about yourself. Hit the subscribe button right now if you'd like me to continue to help you with all those things. So, as we said before, one thing that can help with the ongoing fight against procrastination is having set the correct long-term and short-term goals for you. But if we discard that possibility and the Moffat principle of simply not being ready to write, then it's possible that you may be surrounded by too many distractions, whether they're physical or digital. In my opinion, taking the time to tidy and clean your writing area absolutely does not count as procrastination. Apart from being a really sensible thing to do, it can really improve your creative state of mind because your mental state can reflect the state of your home environment and vice versa. Although if you could see my desk right now, you would have only begun to grasp the extent of my hypocrisy. If your distractions do mainly lie in the digital realm, then consider using some kind of productivity blocker app like Cold Turkey. I also swear by Pomodoros. You're probably already familiar with these 25-minute pockets of time during which we do really focused work with short breaks in between that might become a bit longer during the overall session. Pomodoros can be an incredibly handy and powerful technique, especially if you're a bit like me and you're faced with, say, half an hour and you think, oh, that's not enough time to get anything done. But if you then see that half an hour instead as one Pomodoro, suddenly it strikes you as much more of an opportunity. And sometimes procrastination just arises because you're fatigued. Most people are at their most creative and efficient in the first half of the day, and after that it's kind of a matter of diminishing returns. I refer to the hours each day between 10 AM and midday as the golden hours, because those are the 2 hours during which I'm much more likely to do more heavy lifting creative work. Even if you don't have the luxury of being creative during those kind of hours, it's still worth considering whether you could switch up and have a different slot somewhere else in the day. So now that you and I have figured out the main reason why our writing goals may have gone to hell, we can do one or all of these 3 things. If need be, we can revise our original long-term goal. In my case, I'll switch from the short story I wanted to finish to actually taking a look back at a couple of these novels I've got in development. Secondly, we can revise our short-term daily goals, making sure that the type of goal that we've set for ourselves is healthy and isn't going to make us judge ourselves unduly. And lastly, we're going to try and banish procrastination from our lives as much as humanly possible, bearing in mind the Moffat principle and the fact that thinking is absolutely heavy lifting work. More than anything else though, you and I are going to stop throwing our hands up in the air and proclaiming ourselves to be rubbish every time we let our writing routine slip a bit. Listen, we are people who spend our days conjuring something out of nothing. Now, don't you think that if we were able to do that on command, day in, day out, then that would be a bit weird? Would that not make us something more than human? Here's something really fast, positive, and free that you can do for yourself right now with just a few clicks. Join my January Jumpstart Creativity Collective and share your daily progress with a lovely bunch of people. And me. The whole thing takes place on my Patreon, but it's open to everybody, whether they're a free member or paid. For more details and a link, see the video description below. And even further down below in comments, I'd love to hear from you about the struggles you're experiencing so far this year and how it's going with your goals, and also what your biggest struggles are with writing in general. Now ride forth and write like hell.